This is slide 2 of the general topics. The first one, DBA versus corporation, this will also be included in that separate video that will talk about independent contracting work. Basically, I encourage students to try to start a business while they were still students. I would obviously instruct them not to break the honor code, meaning they can't go out and adjust patients and charge them, things like that. But there are businesses that they could start that would not violate the honor code, where they're not diagnosing or treating things that would not require license, certification, things like that. So where they could start a business cheap and easy and see what it's like to market, see how it affects their taxes, because once they create the business, they will have to add that onto their taxes. So a DBA, or doing business as, was one of those scenarios. It's very inexpensive to start a DBA. That way you don't have to use your name. With the DBA, you could actually get credit, open a bank account, get store cards, obviously make business cards and things like that. You could use your cell phone number and you could, once you have the DBA name, you could go and get an email or website for it if you want, social media for it. But basically, how to start a business just with hundreds of dollars, a few $100s, start a business that you can market. You could choose to do it for profit, as long as it doesn't violate your school's honor code, or you could do it nonprofit. And one thing I recommended is just doing like health coaching, health advice. So say you're a Doctor of Chiropractic student, you're into health, wellness, and nutrition, you're still in school, you could have a business card, you could have a DBA that allows you to go off out of a different name, have your email, phone, and website on the card, or whatever you want. You see people in the store and say, hey, I'm a chiropractic student, I'm really into health, fitness, and wellness. I give free consultations and advice about how people want to improve their diet or, exercise more. And you don't have to charge them anything. You marketed because you approached somebody, you offered services, and just get the feel of it, okay? And all you got to do is file for that DBA. You don't have to form a corporation. It's, EIN numbers are free. It's, if you're not making any money, it's not going to affect your taxes, but you will, you can't put the business on your taxes. So that's just a scenario that I'll get into more in another video of how to very inexpensively see what it's like to start a business with the bare minimum. And before you go borrowing a bunch of money to start a Doctor of Chiropractic office that could cost you potentially hundreds of thousands, and get in over your head when you've had no business or marketing experience in the past. All right, the next one is chiropractic technician. This is something that, as far as I know, only exists in Japan. But in Japan, they have 2 tiers of chiropractors. They have chiropractors that go to school very similar to like in the United States, where they can diagnose and take x-rays, do modalities, things like that, just like us. But they also have a different route that's a chiropractic technician, where basically it's like massage therapy school. It's just a matter of weeks of training, and then they can market and sell their services as chiropractic adjustments. So they are trained in a matter of weeks, and somebody says, hey, can I get an adjustment? And you're like, okay, here's what it costs. You adjust them and you take the money. You didn't have to diagnose or x-ray. Basically, you're just like a massage therapist, but you do spinal manipulation instead. So keep that in mind, that happened in Japan, and it can happen other places, because a lot of chiropractors, they practice like this now anyways. A lot of chiropractic offices I go to that are cash, supposedly wellness-based, they're chiropractic technicians. They may not even have x-rays. They don't diagnose. They adjust everybody the same. They're taking cash. They don't really worry about their notes and stuff. They are chiropractic technicians, okay? So let's be honest about that. And that's what I want to get into with the next one. So, it used to be in school, they said there was mixed and straight chiropractors. Straight meant they just adjusted subluxation, and then mixed, they did modalities, physical therapy. Okay. Well, that's what I was told in school, and then when I got out, that's not what I saw. That seems like that was way from a different time. Now, I see what I call as doctors of chiropractic or chiropractors. When I say chiropractors, I mean they're basically practicing as a chiropractic technician. Doctors of chiropractic still like the doctor part. They take a history, they physically examine, they look at the imaging, they give a medical diagnosis, they refer if needed. They're actually doing doctor things, okay? But then there's chiropractors, they like calling themselves doctor, but they just want to do chiropractic stuff. They just want to do the adjustment. They want to get to that part of the visit as fast as possible, adjusting them, so they don't take a good history. They don't do a good exam. They don't document. They don't refer. They may not take x-rays. And if they do, they're not good x-rays. They don't do an x-ray report. They're doing all the doctor's stuff as just a show. It's a charade. They just want to get to the adjustment and make the patient happy with that and get them to keep coming back and giving them money. Okay? So that's what I found. I don't come across many doctors of chiropractic, honestly. They're all just chiropractors in general that I meet, just chiropractic technicians. It's so rare I come across one that's actually a doctor. Sorry, but that's my opinion. The next one is malpractice versus the board. This is important because I've mentioned this already, I think, on one, if not two slides, that if you have a malpractice, an injured patient, and it's malpractice, if what you did to injure them was within your scope of practice in your state, they will defend you. If what you did to cause the injury in the malpractice case was something outside of your scope of practice, they will not defend you. Okay? So my question is, who should you be more worried about? The board, your state board of chiropractic examiners, or your malpractice company? It seems kind of weird to be scared of your malpractice company because you pay them. Okay. That's who you should be worried about. In Georgia, the Board of Chiropractic Examiners is a 5-person board. 4 are chiropractors, 1 is not. Trust me, they are looking to give you a slap on the wrist. They're not looking to take your license away. They're not trying to send you to prison. Okay? The board is actually in your favor. Okay? They're trying to help other chiropractors. So if you have a malpractice incident, I wouldn't be worried about the board. I really wouldn't, because they're not there to ruin your life. If anything, they're there to protect you. Believe it or not, they're not your enemy. Most people think, oh, the board's going to come get me. No, they're actually they're trying to help. Even if you get in trouble, they're probably going to try to help you get out of it. Okay. Malpractice is who you need to worry about, because if what you did to cause the injury was outside of your scope of practice, they do not have to defend you. They can drop you, and then you're on the hook of covering your attorney and going through all that out of your own pocket. Okay? So, the board's not going to care as much that you did something outside of your scope. They'll just say, maybe don't do it again. Okay? And that's the end of it. Slap on the wrist. But the malpractice company could drop you, and then you could be on the hook for potentially hundreds of $1,000s in fees and cost related to a malpractice injury if you did something outside of your scope of practice. Okay? Next is appropriate versus necessary. Okay. Now, medically necessary should be just that. Insurances, should cover it. It's necessary, whether it's elective or urgent, it's necessary. Medically appropriate is kind of that gray area. Okay. So a lot of times with chiropractors, they're doing things that are medically appropriate. They're not really medically necessary. If chiropractors were limited to only doing things that were medically necessary, they would probably mostly just be doing adjustments to the facet joints and then doing physical therapy. All the other stuff we do is really not necessary. It's appropriate. Insurance wouldn't pay for it. That's why so many people do cash. And that's just the truth of it. Okay. Just think about it in your office. What's necessary, what's appropriate, and, maybe try to skew it a little bit to where you're doing more necessary stuff than appropriate. Okay. All right. Last one is, this relates to Life University students. This is about peak. So this is 3 months versus 6 months of peak. Cause you can do a double peak in 1 term and 1 quarter, or do single peak over 2 terms, 2 quarters. So what I recommended to students is, I know you want to graduate soon, right? So you want to do the double peak, get out a quarter early. I get all that. The problem is that I found a lot of students are already set in their ways. And they're just students. They've never worked in healthcare before, never worked as a chiropractor before, but yeah, they're already set in their ways. So that's a problem. So I encourage students to do the single peak over 6 months and visit 2 offices. And I recommended, if you're going to do a cash-based practice, do 1 office that's PI, like all personal injury, and then another office that's all insurance. That way you just learn it, learn how it works, And then when you get out, since you're already set in your ways that you're going to do a cash practice and you're not going to, entertain anything else, if the cash practice starts to struggle, you know how to do cash or insurance, and you know how to do personal injury because of your peak experience. You got months in each office. And then if you want to temporarily add those in to help keep your office afloat till the cash really starts flowing in, it's better to know how to do it when you're trying to add it than be struggling and not know how to add these things into your practice. Okay. So while it's tempting to want to get out early, I'd recommend stretching it out and visiting offices that are different than what you are going to start, just in case, because you never know.